Before we go, I'd like to switch gears for a special segment that we call the Collective Quickfire.
Oh, nice.
Five rapid fire questions to get some valuable nuggets of insight from you before we end the episode. First question, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Oh boy. I think it's staying humble, especially in the areas that we work in. I could puff up my chest. I could do all of that. And focus on the me aspect of the job. But, when I got into this business, I said, I'm going to focus on the people that we're serving, and the stakeholders that we work with. And my job is to amplify them, at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
So staying humble in my role and making sure that I'm never the centerpiece for what's going on. It's everything that we're doing and everything that goes into what we're doing.
I love that. This one's going to be hard for a chief growth officer to answer.
Oh, no.
What's more important to you, Brian, short-term results or long-term investment in the brand?
Long-term investment in the brand. It's not even a hard question for me. I know if we're making the right investments, the short-term growth and the short-term impacts are going to be there. I work in 18 to 24 month sales cycles within our government business. And a much more transactional component in our commercial business. And I know as long as we stay committed to the long road, we're going to get the right outcomes that we're looking at from a sales growth, whatever metric that I'm looking at perspective. So that's not even a hard question for me to answer.
Love it.
I know if we stay the course, I will hit every outcome that I need to along the way.
How do you stay ahead of various market developments and trends?
Mm-hmm. I do a lot of reading between the lines. I travel extensively for my work, and I travel for one meeting with the hopes that I can turn it into 4 or 5, and really understand what's going on. And I go beyond just meeting with my customers. I talk to people on the streets that I run into. I understand kind of what's going on in those respective markets. Medicaid is different everywhere. Government programs are different everywhere. And so you can't just apply one solution everywhere. So it's figuring out what the problem is. And it's figuring out the problem by walking around. When I travel, I walk around in the morning so I can see how a city wakes up. I can see where the homeless populations are coming out of, where they gravitate to, what the struggles are with local transportation solutions, things like that, just to understand and talk coherently about what the real struggles are and challenges. And then I take all of my other stakeholder feedback and kind of figure out what the broader solution is. And then I don't dictate the solution. The local environment does. And those are, those are just elements that I have always done. And, I can apply it anywhere.
Love that. So great. Startup mentality or corporate strategy, what's more important for growth?
I'm going to say both. I'm going to take the cop out on this one. So, I'm not surprised. I love the startup mentality that we have here. It's rapid. We're not afraid to make changes. We're not afraid to take risks. We're willing to do that. But when you're working with well-established organizations, they need to see a strong corporate culture. They need to see strong elements of longevity and sustainability. And so, when they're looking to sign long-term contracts with us, they want to know we're going to be around for 3 to 5 years and not just the next organization coming around to solve this unique problem. And so to me, it's a combination of both. And I think it really resonates because we are able to be so agile. It allows us to think more creatively while still having a really, really strong corporate background. I mean, Avisos has been around for over 40 years. And so we've been serving our communities for that long. But keeping in mind that we can rapidly turn and rapidly shift is also very empowering because we don't always have to do the same thing the same way every time.
Last question. What's the best podcast episode or book on either leadership or marketing that you've consumed recently? Do you have a favorite?
So I incessantly read everything that I can get my hands on. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I'd say a lot of them have the same kind of message and tenet. So I'm looking for topics in those areas. So, when I'm sitting around the house at night, I'm on my phone reading the news and understanding what's going on.
Yeah.
And again, trying to read between the lines. I'd be remiss if I didn't say I follow tenets of Simon Sinek, and
Yes.
and his processes of getting to the why. I very much live my life that way. I live my corporate life that way. I do bring work home because work is part of who I am, and how I live that and how I do things. So I'd say a lot of Simon stuff is I talk about Simon like he's my best friend. But
I think we all feel that way about Simon.
I do, but I take a lot of his learnings and try to figure out how to apply it. And then Gary Vaynerchuk, just from an entrepreneurship perspective and organic growth and thinking differently and outside the box, I consume a lot of his content as well. And I read articles, I read Harvard Business Reviews, I read scientific journals because I want to understand the holistic components of the business and how certain changes will impact there.
Great. Well, this has been really fun, Brian. Thanks for doing this with me today.
Most
How
definitely.
can listeners get in touch with you?
You can email me, brjones@avisis.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. There's probably 1,000 Brian Jones out there, but just search Brian Jones Avisis and you can find me there. I also work with a couple other organizations out there, so you might see me representing a few organizations that I work with, like Team Smile, and a few others that are focused on holistic missions related to serving underserved populations. So that's how you can find me.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, as we wrap up today's insightful episode, remember, the true power of marketing lies not just in the stories that we tell, but in the authentic actions we take and the real world changes that we inspire. Thank you for joining us. If you're feeling inspired, do us a favor and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for being part of the Health Marketing Collective, where strong leadership meets marketing excellence, because the future of healthcare depends on it. We'll see you next time.